So, morning, everybody. It's an absolute honor for me also to present to you this morning. And I know everybody in this room knows what biodiversity is now. But what I wanted to do is just take us back to Dublin Castle many months ago and just ask the question, what is biodiversity loss? And why is biodiversity important? Why does biodiversity have a value? And behind me, I'm going to speak to a piece of art because I think art can speak much more loudly and powerfully than words can, especially scientific words that we tend to use. So this piece is, it's a medicinal herbal, and it's 200 years old, and it contains dried plant specimens which have medicinal value for humans. And it's called Searching for a Remedy, and it's by Irish contemporary artist Siobhan MacDonald. And what you'll notice as the pages flick very slowly and quietly through the herbal, some of the pages go black. And this is actually depicting extinction. It's depicting biodiversity loss. And we use this word loss, and in a way I think it's a very soft, it's a very gentle word. It suggests that we can find the thing that is lost. We use it during a bereavement, and it seems less final. So we say, I'm sorry for your loss. And in a way, that's what we're using with biodiversity. I'm sorry for your loss. But really, what is biodiversity loss? Biodiversity loss is extinction of species in Ireland. If it's extinction of species across the globe, that is the death of a species. We can never find it again. We can actually never discover the unknown remedy, the unknown cure for a human ailment or perhaps for a human condition. And unfortunately, with biodiversity loss, it's not just loss of all those different species, it's also a loss, a dampening of the human experience with nature. So it's called the death of nature experience. So what this means is that every single generation are familiar with just a few less species than our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation. And they say in conservation biology, we do not conserve what we do not know. We do not really care about what we don't know. And I think the Children's Citizens Assembly identified that so clearly. They say we should treat biodiversity as a member of our family, because of course we care about members of our family. We wouldn't want to lose them. So then moving on to what is the value of biodiversity? Well, scientifically we know that rich, biodiverse, high species diversity ecosystems are more resilient. They can face environmental shocks much more capably than a low diversity system. That's because they're doing so many different things, they're exploring so much of the ecological space. And this is really important for the future shocks that will be coming with climate change. Pristine, untouched habitats, restored habitats with lots of biodiversity will weather the storm. They will be more resilient in the face of climate change than those that are low biodiversity. And then we think, well, what's the value of biodiversity? We could be very selfish about it and think, well, out there's so many unexplored species still. Maybe there's lots of species in Ireland, I know there are, and we haven't yet explored their medicinal value. Species outside this country provide things like rubber, they provide things like antifreeze, they provide understanding so we can develop self-cleaning windows because of their microsurface structures. But they also provide beauty, inspiration, poetry, art. But what I really wanted to get across this morning before we go on through the day in your deliberations is really those values, they're called ecosystem services, that are harder to see. So in a way, they're harder to comprehend. And what we do know from science is that rich, biodiverse ecosystems, they keep water within them. They recycle all of those nutrients within them. And the problem is when you lose those valuable nutrients and they go into the waterways, we saw in our last session, that when nutrients move from one place to the place where they shouldn't be, like the rivers, this causes problems. And then the final really important value of the many I could think of pollinating our crops, producing fruits and seeds, is that we know from science that biodiverse ecosystems store more carbon. And in actual fact, of all the carbon that humans have put into the atmosphere, 1/3 is held within ecosystems on land, 1/3 is held within ecosystems in the ocean. We would be a much hotter world if it wasn't for what those biodiverse systems are doing for us. So in a way, if we restore and protect our biodiversity in Ireland, it is a win-win, not only for everything that biodiversity brings us, it's also a win for climate, not just here, but actually globally. So to conclude, looking at this wonderful piece of art, searching for a remedy, we do not want to lose a remedy for human ailments and human illnesses that we haven't even had chance to discover if we let things go extinct, if we let biodiversity loss to happen. So thank you very much.